Welcome to the I Can Do Anything podcast. My name is Colin, and tonight I'm talking about NBA basketball because I can do anything. It's cold outside, and I'm sitting in my home with a candle next to me. That's really cool to be able to say. I'm sitting in my home. I want to cover Sunday and Monday's games of NBA action. I think there were 5 games on Sunday night and like 9 games last night. There was some really good action last night, but I want to start with LeBron James's 51-point performance on Sunday. It was just a lot of fun to watch LeBron be LeBron at this age. It's continues to be, it's almost routine. It's almost expected, but in the same way, it's still actually quite amazing to watch. He scored 51 points on 19 of 31 shooting, 61% from the field, and 6 of 8, 75% from 3. That's a high volume. A lot of those threes were deep. It's kind of what I've talked about before. Steph Curry's 3-point percentage is really great, but he takes a lot of really deep, tough threes and still has a great 3-point percentage. So it's almost like the 3-point percentage doesn't necessarily tell the story, because a lot of those threes that LeBron took were really deep. And, well, the one at the end of the game, a majority of them were well past the 3-point line, but also finished with 8 rebounds. So, 8 rebounds and 3 assists. But a plus 20 plus minus, which for the most part, including, the last 5 games, LeBron's 3-point percentage, field goal percentage too, but free throw percentage and his plus minus have all gone up, where all those were very low by his standards in the first 10 games or so. The Lakers got help kind of across the board. Caldwell Pope had a good night, 19 points. A lot of these guys, even if they don't necessarily contribute scoring wise, do a lot of really good. The Lakers are just a lot of fun to watch. And, even I find myself even when LeBron's not in the game, when I'm watching the second unit, there's just more intrigue around the second unit, just knowing that LeBron is over on the bench and that he might come in at any moment, or just knowing that I think for those guys that are playing, even when LeBron's not on the court, for Brandon Ingram, he gets to be the main scorer when LeBron's not on the court, but it just feels like there's more gravity and there's more weight, there's more pressure to perform and keep a lead. That's the reason that LeBron probably got 50, was because they had a pretty solid, almost 20-point lead going into the fourth quarter, and if they would have kept the lead, LeBron probably wouldn't have had to come back into the game. So the only reason he really got 50 is because the second unit, or the second and third unit, those garbage guys didn't hold the lead. It wasn't really garbage guys. The bottom 4 on the roster didn't play. But Lance Stevenson had 0 points. He was 0 of 4, 0 of 2 from field goal and 3-point, 4 rebounds. JaVale McGee continues to play pretty well, although the box score doesn't really reflect it. 2 steals, no blocks, only 3 rebounds. Maybe he didn't play that well. That's what I mean, I guess. A lot of these guys, just having LeBron around them makes it seem like they're playing better. Even if guys don't really play all that well, or don't knock down shots, or really fill a box score up, it just seems like, when you get 51 from anybody, I guess, it makes everybody else look pretty good. But who was their second leading scorer? Caldwell Pope with 19, and then Kuzma had 15, and Ingram had 13. What other games happened the other night? I was thinking about I didn't mention when I did the MVP matrix with Dobb that I took out the wow category. I don't really, with as many games as there are in the NBA, and I just can't really keep track of each player, especially because I'm going to add Kemba Walker to the matrix and see where he ranks for this upcoming week. But that's going to continue to happen throughout the year. Maybe like people will be added to it who weren't in it previously. So there's no way of me being able to, as just one guy, being able to keep a running tally of each player's wow performances. Although for the most part, they're usually notable, and I'll catch them because I'm on the NBA website and following games every day. So I guess I could mark them, but it's just not really a priority. Something else to note, the Warriors lost to the Spurs on Sunday night, 104-92, and that was their third straight loss, 5 of the last 7. And it's interesting, I was thinking about this throughout the day today as I was watching games and just kind of reading things about trades, and I want to get into the Wizards trade stuff that's happening, the rumors and all the things about the talk around them possibly blowing up their core and all that. But the Warriors roughly 2 weeks ago were having a jolly old time in the locker room, and I was talking with Dob about how, where else would you want to be in the world as a basketball player or a basketball fan? If you could be anywhere in the world, you'd want to be a member of the Golden State Warriors. I think most people would generally agree with that. I guess people that wouldn't agree would just be not agreeing because they want to go against, kind of just go against the grain, or wouldn't want to be somebody that join. I guess you think of KD going to the Warriors and joining up with them, and you wouldn't want to also join up with them just because of the negative stigma that KD gets because of it. But they were having a lot of fun 2 weeks ago and winning games easily, blowing people out. Everybody was playing well. And then Steph gets hurt, and the Draymond thing happens with Kevin Durant, and that's just because, I don't know, Draymond fucked up and got, one of his peers, I guess, sort of called him out for it, and he didn't handle it very well in the heat of the moment. And it's interesting to see, the suspension was odd to me. It does seem like the Warriors are choosing, sort of like, you're finding Draymond, basically telling him to shut up because we want Kevin Durant to stay here. I don't like to get into all the trade rumor stuff. I think I don't know. Again, I'm not like an insider, like an NBA insider, so I don't have this isn't the podcast you're going to listen to find out the new stuff on the wire that's happening in the NBA. Obviously, I have zero connections in the NBA. Well, that's not true. I have a friend who works for player development for the Chicago Bulls. But again, pretty much no connections. And I would never hit up Chris Kent to be like, yo, tell me about some of the rumors that are going on inside the Bulls organization. I don't think that would work. Even if I were to hit him up, he probably just, wouldn't say anything to me about it. But it's not like the Bulls are even relevant enough for there to be. I guess the Wizards aren't really relevant, but there's drama surrounding them right now. But it's just interesting how the Warriors were playing so well, and they were so happy. They were doing the Fergie challenge thingy or whatever the fuck that is in the locker room after blowing the Knicks out. And 2 weeks later, there's talks of KD. I mean, serious talks of KD. It's amazing how much people talk about. I've slowly started to pay attention a little bit more to. I read articles, but I try not to listen to other people talk. And even just from seeing, I'm on YouTube all the time, and just from seeing headlines of things, you can kind of get an idea about what somebody's take may be, just based on if you see a Colin Cowherd on the side of on the recommended side next to the videos, the video that you're currently watching, if there's a Colin Cowherd clip and it's Chris Broussard joining Colin Cowherd, and the title is Chris Broussard weighs in on blah blah blah. There's a lot of the clips titles can kind of tell you, I guess, where their point or where they're going with whatever their take is. So it's hard to kind of be completely any idea or thought or any quote or anything like that. It's all there's been too many people in there's been too many people on the earth for anything really to be original anymore, but I like for this to try to be as original as possible. So, ooh, so I'm trying to just make it my own, but it's harder and harder to, where was I? What was my overall point with that? I guess the talks around the Warriors situation are that Draymond needs to go, or that KD is going to leave, and that just people, I feel like people are talking about free agency so much. But again, I don't really listen to other people talk. It's just kind of the headlines that you see and the stories that I've read. I guess that's where I'm drawing that conclusion from, is just the different NBA stories that I've read. Maybe reading stories isn't good either, because that kind of taints my kind of clouds my overall point. It sort of brings, I mean, reading somebody is just somebody's words in a different form. Well, that's unfortunate. Now I feel like I don't want to read any articles about the NBA, but then I can't get news. So, you know what? Fuck it. I can do anything, right? Okay, let's move on to just a different game from Sunday night. Let's see. The Timberwolves have played well without Jimmy Butler, but the 76ers have also played really well. That buzzer beater from Butler was I guess it was interesting. Just the dynamic behind all that is fun to pay attention to. What else happened? Oh, Kemba Walker. So let's go. I'm going to move into Monday's games, last night's games. Kemba Walker had 43 last night in a 117-112 win over the Boston Celtics. As I pull up the score, the Boston Celtics is first, so I'll just roll with this side of the box score first. Tatum had 20. Al Horford had 8, which isn't very good. Jaylen Brown has had a really down year. Every game that I've watched, he kind of seems invisible. Any box score that I've seen from them, he just hasn't played very well. I mean, he had 10 points and shot the ball pretty well, 4 of 6 from the field. 1 of 3 from 3 is all right. He's not really known as a 3-point shooter, but can definitely knock it down if he's wide open. Or I'd be interested to see what he shot from 3 in his short career thus far. But 2 rebounds, 2 assists, no turnovers, +5 and ±. Irving had 27 and led them, and then they got solid scoring off the bench with Morris and Hayward and Smart. And Daniel Theis, Daniel the Is. And then Kemba Walker had 43 on the other side, with really not a whole bunch of contribution from the rest of the team. Willie Hernan Gomez, which is like a combo. That name is really interesting to me. Hernan Gomez. It's almost like they just combined Hernandez and Gomez, which I'm sure is what somebody did. But those brothers are playing really well. Willie plays for Charlotte, and I don't remember the brother's name, but he plays for Denver, and they've both played really well. His brother that plays for Denver, whose name I still don't know and can't remember, played really well. Maybe it was last night against the Bucks. I watched a little of that Nuggets-Bucks game, and he played. Yeah, it was last night. Let me pull up the box score from that one real quick. I know this tends to happen. I just kind of bounce around. Whoa, I can't pronounce his name. Juancho Hernan Gomez. That is a very Mexican name. Wow. But he only had 6 points so maybe that was a night before that I saw that he played really well. But back to the Hornets and the Celtics. Kemba Walker, I'm going to add to the MVP matrix. And he's been, he definitely outplayed Kyrie last night. Kyrie still had 27 points and shot 48% from the field. 1 of 8 from 3. That's really bad. And he missed 2 of those were down the stretch with, like in the last 15 seconds. He had 2, I think they were down 4 or 5, and he had 2 attempts at threes. One was like a back tap from Gordon Hayward that literally fell right in his shooting pocket, and he missed both of those down the stretch. I think it's important to, I don't know if it's important to, but I think it's only fair to criticize, Kyrie is a star in this league, and LeBron gets a lot of criticism has gotten a lot of criticism this year for, missing, key free throws down the stretch. And this wasn't necessarily a game winning. It was game changing, but it wasn't a game winning shot, or a game sealing shot or game sealing free throws. But he certainly could have made the game a lot more interesting had he hit either of those threes. But he did have 11 assists last night, so a nice double-double. Kyrie doesn't often have that many assists in a game. I didn't watch enough of that game to really get a good grasp of it, but I did catch probably the last quarter. The Cavs continue to suck. Before I conclude the Celtics Charlotte game, Charlotte is 8-8, which I thought that they'd have a pretty good year in the West as far as their past years have gone. I think that they'll be much improved this year over last year, but the Celtics have been underwhelming to say the least in the East. Dob and I touched a little bit on standings on Sunday, but the Celtics, well, let me go to the standings, I guess, while I'm bouncing all over the fucking place. The Celtics have now dropped below, well, they're tied with Orlando, 9-8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they're tied for 6th in the East. But Cleveland continues to really be horrible. Another loss to the Pistons last night. So they're 2-13. I don't even know if I care to look at the box score of that game. The Pistons really aren't a very intriguing team for me. I guess I'm interested to see who scores or who does anything for the Cavs, because other than Wednesday when they play LeBron, I probably won't watch another Cavs game. That's not true. I probably will. I'll probably catch pieces of them, but Tristan had 10, Osman had 10, Rodney Hood 12, Colin Sexton 18, Jordan Clarkson came off the bench and had 16. That's interesting that he comes off the bench. They had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys in double figures. I mean, it's not like they got blown out. 102 to 113 is in the NBA, that's very manageable. You can score 11 points pretty quickly. Or how many points is that? Yeah, 11 points. God, I'm bad at math. Pacers beat the Jazz pretty handily. Wow, 121 to 94. The Pacers are having a great year, 11-6, and the Jazz have really kind of slid off the radar a little bit. They haven't played very well, and from the beginning of the year, that was a team I was pretty high on in the West. Let me pull the box score for that one then. Ingles 5 points, Derek Favors 5 points, Gobert 12, Donovan Mitchell 7. Ooh. Ricky Rubio 28, Crowder had 14 off the bench. They didn't shoot horrible from the field, 48% from the field and 44% from three. What was it then? 18 turnovers is kind of a lot of turnovers. What about Indy? Other leading scorer was Bogdanovich. And did he? Doesn't look like. Yeah, what's his name? Victor Oladipo didn't even play, and they got blown out by the Pacers. That's embarrassing. Huh. Bogdanovich leads the Pacers in scoring, and they beat the piss out of the Jazz, and Victor Oladipo doesn't play. Interesting. So the 76ers game was pretty good last night as well. I mentioned Jimmy Butler. The matchup between the bigs was an interesting one with Ayton and Embiid. Embiid obviously got the best of him. Ayton had 17 points, shot 72% from the field, but a lot of those are dunks, and had 9 rebounds, and then 33 for Embiid on 52% shooting. Now that's more impressive because he takes a lot more difficult shots, and probably to his detriment and probably to the team's detriment at times, but just for flow and rhythm purposes, it's probably not all that horrible for him to take some of the difficult shots sometimes that he takes, or just the quick, distance shots, I guess. I don't think he should be. He's a good 3-point shooter, although he was 0 of 5 last night from 3. But for his size, he's a great 3-point shooter. But I just wish he would stay around the basket a little more. Oh, a really dominant performance though from him. 17 rebounds, 6 turnovers is pretty bad. Again, as a center, you shouldn't have 6 turnovers. That's just way too many. But Ben Simmons played well, had a double-double, 19 points, 11 rebounds, shot 69% from the field, which, again, those are all within 6 feet, I would assume, if you saw the shot chart. But 1 of 6 from the free throw line is really bad. These guys who can't develop a jump shot in the NBA are kind of fascinating to me. I mean, they're obviously really, really skilled, and they're in the NBA for a reason. But it's kind of, I mean, I don't know. We've all got only 24 hours in a day, and I probably don't use my time as well as I could. But you'd think that if you were in the NBA, maybe not. I mean, again, if you're in the NBA making millions of dollars, you've already made it. So you've already fulfilled your dream, unless you're, uberly competitive and you're one of these guys that is in the league to win championships. And a lot of them are. A lot of them are playing the game to win. But once you get to the NBA, it's like, shit, I'm making a bunch of fucking money. I could just hang out. I guess another notable team to talk about. Well, let's see. Do I have anything else on the 76ers? Nah, probably not. The Clippers are playing well. I think they've won 5 straight. Who's doing stuff for the Clippers? I know Lou Williams played really well down the stretch the other night when I think they beat the Rockets on national TV. I want to say it was, but again, this win was over the Atlanta Hawks for the Clippers, so not anything really to get too crazy about. But Tobias Harris had 24. I would assume he is their leading scorer for the season, although Montrezl Harrell scored 25 points off the bench. They got solid contribution off the bench. Mike Scott had 18. Boban Marjanovic, is that the big old guy? He scored 12 points. Wow. Avery Bradley only had 4, but that's not really why he's on the floor. He's not really there to score. Lou Williams, 16. That's pretty average for Lou Williams. The Hawks are, pretty bad for the most part. Super young and just not really. Why is it doing that? I'm clicking on Atlanta and it's taking me to a fucking ad. Come on, I just want to see Atlanta's box score. No, I don't want a Boost Mobile. Okay, well, apparently I'm not going to look at the Hawks box score. Antetokounmpo continues to play really well for the Bucks. The Nuggets started out really hot and are still 10-7, which is good. What are they in the West? Still, there's 3 teams at 11-5, and then they're 10-7, so essentially fifth in the West, which is right on par for where I think that they will probably end up in the West. I would say maybe a little lower than that even, because I think the Lakers will eventually jump them. The Lakers are 9-7 now. I think Houston maybe starts to play a little better, especially once they start to play more Eastern Conference teams. San Antonio is 8-8. That's interesting. San Antonio they started out really well, and DeMar DeRozan was playing great, and they've kind of been on a skid. I guess this is kind of right about the time of year where, you get stuff like the Clippers playing well for a little stretch or so, and then, the Warriors struggle a little bit. So there's kind of a lot of unexpecteds that happen. Now the season's kind of rolling along, and San Antonio started out pretty well, but now they've kind of evened out at 8-8. The Jazz are fourth to last in the West, but then you got teams like Phoenix and Cleveland who are right where you would think they'd be. Atlanta, New York, Chicago, right where you'd think they'd be. I guess so the Washington thing is interesting. This is a team that I've never really liked. I've never really thought that John Wall, and I've expressed this a number of times, I've never thought that John Wall is gonna equal wins in the long run. But I just don't like what team is going to take John Wall in a trade. I don't think if that's the route that they go, that's the route that they should go. John Wall, his contract is ridiculous. He's 32 years old. He can't really shoot in a league that's trending more and more towards shooters. He's delusional about his talent and about his where he should be in the league. I think John Wall probably thinks he should be the MVP. So I just don't know if that's really. I just don't know who would want him. Like, what team in their right mind? What team that is worth a damn in the NBA is going to take John Wall? I just don't see it happening. I have talked at length for the last 5 years. Well, not the last 5 years, probably 3 or 4 years, about wanting LeBron to play with. I got my wish with him playing with Rondo, and so far that has been underwhelming, I guess. It's not like they've played horrible together, but they're not really. Now that Rondo's coming off the bench and now that he's injured, more particularly, he hasn't really played a ton with LeBron, but I really want to see Bradley Beal play with LeBron. I think that's a great complementary scoring too. I don't think that they need to make the move though. I don't think that they. I saw something from Bleacher Report. It was like projections of what the trades could be, and I don't think that they need to make a move this year for a. It goes back to the Easting the West theory that Andrew Schultz had on Flagrant 2 that Dob and I talked about on Sunday or Monday's episode. I just think this year's probably a wash. So like I don't you could just keep doing what you're doing this year. Build these young guys, build the confidence, get to know them better, and then they're gonna get a free agent. I just don't think that there's enough delusional guys like John Wall in the league or Russell Westbrook or, any of these guys that think that I mean, even Kyrie Irving to a degree, although I am, for the most part, a big Kyrie fan. I thought it was smart in the long run to go to Boston and he's doing the same thing sort of. He sacrificed a year of not playing with LeBron to have a better situation, and that could be what LeBron's doing for this year. But I think I don't know. Anyways, I think Kyrie is much more level-headed, like far more level-headed than John Wall and Russell Westbrook, and not nearly as egotistical. But I don't think they need to lose Brandon Ingram and lose, any of those young guys really. I don't think they need to lose them this year. I don't think you're not going to win this year. Like if Bradley Beal comes to the Lakers, they're not going to beat the Warriors. They're still not going to be good enough. Unless this growing thing with Curry, lingers throughout the year and Draymond. And I mean, this part of the season and these kind of things happening is why we play the season out, because everybody has their theories about, the Warriors are just going to walk into another championship. But I mean, these guys are all human. Like this stuff happens there's 82 games in this season. There's a lot of things that can happen. There's injuries. There's a lot of egos. So the NBA just continues to be really, really exciting. I was in the middle of talking about the Bucks and the Nuggets when I just awkwardly, I don't like that word. Fuck that. It wasn't awkward at all. When I just randomly transitioned into the standings and somehow ended up talking about LeBron, which generally it happens pretty frequently where I just will talk about something and then all of a sudden I'm talking about LeBron. But I was talking about the Bucks and the Nuggets box score. The Bucks got 29 from Giannis, 12 rebounds, 6 assists. Chris Middleton hit a big shot down the stretch. 13 points for him is kind of underwhelming. 13 from Brogdon. Bledsoe played pretty well. He played really well. 23 points, 8 of 10 from the field, 3 of 4 from 3. 4 of 9 from the free throw line. Not very good. You got to make your free throws, dude. Especially as a guard who can shoot the ball. It's really not that difficult. 5 assists. What about Jokic? Played well. 20 points, 5 assists, 5 rebounds. But kind of underwhelming for him. 44% from the field. 3 of 8 from threes. Not very. It's probably too many threes from him. Gary Harris has kind of teetered off a little bit. He's starting to play a lot. I mean, he only had 14 last night, 37% shooting from the field and 33 from 3. Really a very average game for him. But I would say actually probably below average, a very underwhelming game for the most part. I think Gary can play a lot better than that. Who would have been guarding him in that game? Probably Chris Middleton. Or maybe even Bledsoe at times. No, Bledsoe would probably guard Jamal Murray. And then the final game. Nope, not the final game. 2 more games. Spurs and Pelicans. They got a triple-double from the Pelicans got a triple-double from Randall. 21 points, 14 rebounds, and 10 assists. 29 from Anthony Davis on 59% shooting. 9 rebounds. Mirotic, 13 points, 57% shooting, 3 of 4 from 3, 5 rebounds. That's a really solid overall stat line, I guess. 13 points isn't jumping out at you, but 57% shooting is great. 3 of 4 from 3 is great. Didn't take too many of them, but shot a high percentage. 5 rebounds is a good contribution. No turnovers, a steal, and a block. Etuan Moore had 24 points on 68% shooting, 2 of 3 from 3. Drew Holiday, 21 points, 61% from the field, 50% from 3. The Pelicans are going to make a nice little, I don't know if it'll be a nice little playoff run, but they'll win another playoff series, I would assume. I think that they probably win a first-round playoff game, and then they probably run into the Lakers or the Rockets if the Rockets can play a little better. And that's something that I've alluded to twice. I don't know that that's necessarily a guarantee that the Rockets play better. Like their window, in my opinion, has definitely closed, but like maybe they're not even a top tier Western Conference team anymore. I think Harden got his MVP, so it's just like, fuck it, man. I'm just hanging out now. I got my MVP. I'm solidified. I'm making millions of dollars. I enjoy living in Houston. And he probably, maybe Houston's just not a contender. I don't think they are a contender anymore, but maybe they're not even a top tier Western Conference or NBA team anymore. So I don't know. I think the Pelicans, though, probably run into the Lakers or the Warriors even in the second round, but they're going to be they continue to be a really interesting team to watch. Anthony Davis is just fascinating. He's so big and long and can handle the ball so well. And the last game, the Thunder and the Kings. I really don't like watching. Everybody always talks about how Russell Westbrook is such a great player to watch. And if I could go to any game in the NBA, or if I could watch any player in the NBA, it would be Russell Westbrook. And he may not be the best player, or he may not be, but he sure is fascinating to watch. And I just get frustrated when I watch it. Just like, he makes so many, I don't know, I just get frustrated watching him. Although he did have 29 points last night they lost to the 29 points, 48% shooting from the field, 40% from 3, 4 of 10. That's too many threes, Russ. Why are you taking 10 threes? Paul George took 14 threes and only made 4 of them. But it still had 27 points. Jesus, see, that's what I mean. Like, this is a great example of two guys that, I don't know if it's a great example of something that classically happens, but you've got Paul George and Russell Westbrook, two superstars. Now, I don't generally think Paul George is an NBA superstar. I kind of have always referred to him as a Walmart superstar. But two guys that can fill it up. Well, let's just say that. And two guys that can definitely be a number one on an NBA team. They came together because who fucking knows why they came together? I don't know why Paul George would want to stay there. But Paul took 24 shots from the field and 14 threes. Russell took 25 shots from the field and 10 threes. The other guys shot 10. Steven Adams took 9 shots. Jeremy Grant took 9 shots. Diallo, I don't even know who that is, took 7 shots. Dennis Schroeder took 17 shots and only made 3 of them. Again, way too many fucking shots. Dennis Schroeder is not a shooter by any stretch of the imagination. And he took 6 threes, didn't make any of them. 4 turnovers. The Warrior or the Thunder, they might not make I don't think the Thunder even make the playoffs this year. And I hope Paul George hates himself for the decision he made. No, I don't hope that at all, but I can't believe that you'd want to play with Russell Westbrook in Oklahoma City if you had the option to go to your hometown, sunny Los Angeles, California, and play with the greatest fucking player that has ever lived. But it's just I don't know. These two guys are just trying to make it work, and they're taking too many fucking shots. And it's easy to guard two people. The Warriors are effective because they've got four guys, well, three really, that you've like got to absolutely be glued to: Curry, Thompson, and Durant. And if you leave Draymond open, he's a great playmaker, and he can do things with. I mean, it's not like he's an NBA player. He's not incapable, but guarding Paul George and Russell Westbrook, if they're going to take 70% of the shots, that's fucking easy. I would just not let them do anything and just let them huck up all the stupid shots they want. And if they take stupid contested shots when they're well guarded, then go ahead. And if they pass it to Jeremy Grant and Steven Adams and fucking Hamidou, how do you say it? Hamidou Diallo. If Hamidou Diallo beats you, fine. I'm just, as you can tell, I'm not a big fan of the Thunder, and they got beat by the fucking Kings last night. Iman Shumpert had 23 points. Buddy Hield had 25. Marvin Bagley 15 off the bench. Another Bogdanovich had 16. Or wait, had 16 off the bench. They had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys in double figures. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not a fan of the Thunder. Nope, not a fan. What else do I have to talk about? LeBron, Kemba, Clippers, Warriors, Wizards. Did I talk about the Wizards thing enough? Nah, probably not, but I don't know. I just don't think I think regardless of what the Wizards do, they're not going to be any good. And I think regardless of where any of their players end up, they're not going to make a difference on a team. I mean, they'll make a difference maybe, but I don't think they're not going to impact the greater NBA landscape. I don't see a lot of the rumors I've heard, that one Bleacher Report article, first of all, these projections are just, to me, that like, I don't know, where do these things come from? Is it just some guy at Bleacher Report sitting in his cubicle? It's like, okay, it's like all these crazy options, and it just seems like way too detailed to have actually come from somewhere. It just seems like, or maybe it's so detailed that it did come from a legit source. I don't know. But it just seems like a lot of them were like 3 and 4 players that would be involved in like draft picks and future. I don't know. It's the projected stuff is kind of stupid, but all the projections that I saw were these guys just going to teams that don't fucking matter, like the Suns. And I don't think the Lakers, I just don't think that they're going to make a move to get rid of a lot of these young guys to bring in somebody like Bradley Beal, who's great. I love Bradley Beal, but he's not making a difference this year. He's not going to be the difference that they beat the Warriors. Or maybe he is, and I just don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. That's entirely possible. I'm logging out, though. It's time for me to make myself some dinner and watch some hoops because the games start in 10 minutes. I guess I can go over that. What are the games tonight? We got a very underwhelming schedule tonight. Raptors, Magic. The Magic have been playing well, actually. The Magic are 9-8 and did put a whooping on the Lakers. And Kawhi is fun to watch. That is actually probably going to be a decently fun game to watch. Clippers, Wizards will be intriguing just because the Clippers are playing well right now, and the Wizards have all the drama around them. Dwight Howard's out again with his fucking butt injury. Howard glute out tonight. What a turnaround. That guy. I thought Dwight Howard would win every defensive player of the year until he was not in the league anymore. And then he's just he's basically not in the league anymore, I guess. He never plays, and he's on irrelevant teams and doesn't do a damn thing on the irrelevant teams. Well, I got some aggression tonight. The Brooklyn Nets and the Miami Heat at 7:30. Not watching that shit at all. Although the Nets have played well. The Nets are 7-10, but I mean, they're usually much worse than that. In the past, I mean, they've been completely irrelevant over the last basically 10 years in the NBA, but definitely not watching the Nets and the Heat and the Trailblazers and the Knicks. I may watch that just because I haven't watched the Knicks game, and the Trailblazers have been playing really well. The Trailblazers are a lot of fun to watch. So only 4 games in the association tonight. I I can do anything. And how am I going to end this one? Help me out here, folks. Oh wait, you can't talk back to me, can you? I'm just sitting here talking to myself. You know why I'm sitting here talking to myself? Because I can do anything.